Good morning. Wow, what a day. It's been epic and been spending much too much time following the news, but had to come out for Dvar Torah. So all of you have heard the big news that today in the morning at about 8:30 a.m., which is 3:30 time in Lebanon, that simultaneously thousands of Hezbollah terrorists, their pagers exploded wherever they were. And over 3,600 terrorists were injured. 300 are in critical condition, many dead. And most importantly, the biggest embarrassment and failure in the history of the Hezbollah terror group. The first thing we have to remember is that Hezbollah is a terror group that was only built as an Iran proxy to annihilate Israel and to build enough missiles with precision and ballistic that could literally kill hundreds of thousands of Israelis. Truth is that since October 7th, unprovoked, first years ago they said that we were in the Sheba Farms, which is Lebanese territory, and they wanted us to leave. And then Israel withdrew. And then they kept on terrorizing us. And then after October 7th, on the lowest time for Israel, unprovoked, Hezbollah started sending rockets. And since October 7th, over 100,000 Israeli residents were not allowed to go back to their home. Imagine, they were not allowed to go home because of the threat of rockets. That would be millions of Americans in equivalents. And just 2 nights ago, Hezbollah sent over 100 rockets at Tzfat, a city that is full of tens of thousands of people. I have nieces and friends who live there. The world's been quiet. They don't report about it. They don't speak about it. And finally, the most genius thing, Israel realized that things have to change. And they changed through the cabinet of war. They changed the goal of the war in Gaza to include bringing the residents back home to their homes in northern Israel, which basically says that part of the war would be a two-front war, also facing Gaza. And just, some say a month or two ago, some say a week ago, Hezbollah directed all their members to get rid of their phones and to get these new pagers for safety. And these are the pagers. We're not sure if Israel put a virus in them where it made it overheat, or if Israel intercepted them on the way or worked with whoever gave it to them and there were bombs in them. Israel's not taking credit either. But this is remarkable. And this is a feat that's unprecedented in Israel's genius and intelligence. But I want to speak about something for a minute and we'll circle back. This week's Torah portion is V'haya ki sava yela aretz asher Hashem elekecha noisen lach, when you will come to the land of Israel that God gives you. V'yirishta v'yashafta ba, and you will dwell and inherit it. Now, what does God want? He wants the Bikurim. He wants us to bring the first fruit of our harvest into Jerusalem. But why does he say you will inherit it and you will settle in it? Rashi says something remarkable, that the Torah is basically telling us that if you know the history, it took Israel 7 years to conquer the land of Israel, and then it took Israel another 7 years to settle it. Now what happens if you got settled in year number 8? Could you bring Bikurim? Could you bring the basket of your first fruit right away to Jerusalem and do the mitzvah? Says the Torah, no. V'yirishta v'yashafta ba. That the reason the Torah adds these words, you will inherit and settle it, is to tell us that as long as parts of Israel are not settled, as long as not all the Jews have settled in their place, you can't come and bring your first fruit to Jerusalem and tell God, I'm rejoicing in all the good I have. Because how could you say you're rejoicing in all the good you have when there's Jews who haven't been settled yet, when they're still fighting for their land? Imagine, that's what Rashi tells us. The extra 2 words of Yirishta v'yashafta ba, you will inherit and settle, is to teach us that for 14 years they didn't do the mitzvah of Bikurim, the mitzvah of gratitude. Even the Jews that settled in year 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 waited till all the Jews settled. What does it teach us about the power of unity? That you can't be rejoicing as a Jew when there's another Jew who hasn't settled yet. Now circle that back to what's going on in Israel. It's nearly 12 months from October 7th. And there's 100,000 Jews who have been living out of suitcases in hostels and hotels, away from their home, away from their community, while Israel has been fighting in Gaza. But Israel has a responsibility, and the Jewish people have a responsibility, that we can't finish this war, and we can't rejoice in success of winning the war until we return all of these Jewish people to their homes in the north. And all the people crying about the 3,600 terrorists who were injured or people that were killed today are people that don't care about Jewish blood. They're people who celebrate when Jews are killed. We should celebrate this day in the greatest way. Israel is a gift from Hashem. The technology, the revolutionary ways that the army thinks. Think about the Shabak. Think about the IDF. Think about the intelligence. What it took to pull this off, that simultaneously. It's 3,600 now, but as one of them told the Wall Street Journal, we can't even count them, they're coming so quick. And all these people that they had Hezbollah phones, what were they doing with Hezbollah phones? Hezbollah has 100,000 soldiers. So anyone tells you, oh, but there was a kid, there was a that. Whoever had a page or a phone was part of Hezbollah. And that's the power of Israel. We know that this is going to a war. There's no question it's going to be painful for Israel, because all points are all signs are showing now that Israel's ready to engage in this war in the next day or two. And it's going to be hard. And in the beginning it's going to be painful. But there's no choice. We can't live under the threat of a proxy of Iran sitting right across our border, shooting rockets every day, trying to annihilate us. Am Yisrael Chai. Celebrate this moment now as we begin to finalize and make sure that V'yirishta v'yashafta ba, that every Jew will be settled in their home in Israel and be safe, if it's north or south, east or west. May Hashem watch over the Jewish people. May Hashem watch over our Prime Minister and ministers and government people and the IDF and the Shabak. May He give them the strength and the courage to all of us to speak in one voice of unity, standing up for Israel and their fight to annihilate evil, terror, and Islamic fundamentalists. Am Yisrael Chai, and let below the belt hit even farther below the belt.